After growing up in outside Philadelphia, I actually studied engineering at University of Pennsylvania. Also went back to Penn, got my MBA at Wharton before diving into the skilled trades. My first company was a company that helped gain access to vocational training, and it was during that first company that we identified an opportunity to work directly with employers like yourselves to address skilled labor shortage. The product of that is what we believe is the best tool in the market to help with live technician diagnostics, driven by our own proprietary AI native diagnostic intelligence engine. So that's the background, that's context. Hopefully that helps set the stage for what we're going to present to all of you today during this webinar. If you don't mind, I'm going to actually screen share here. Let's see. So let me know if this works. But screen sharing here to everyone. Ben, can you give me a shout? Can you see this?
Yeah, we can see it, Jeff.
Okay, great. Okay. So try to make this as interactive as possible. But what we'd like to do is just go through brief slideshow, and then I think, quite frankly, the most interactive approach here is actually going to be demonstrating how the product works. And then we can talk about everyone's experiences to date and pain points and how we can work together. So as an agenda, we'd like to just share as an offering and information sharing exercise what we have been seeing in the market with our early partners and partnerships to date. We're going to demonstrate some clear value points and empirical feedback from the local partnership that we successfully launched with Local 98. And then just quite frankly, like to open up the conversation to some Q&A and feedback so that we can gain a better understanding of what problems you all are facing day to day and how we can collaborate to help solve them together. All right, so a few things, frankly, just very, very plainly, we keep seeing these recurring themes again and again. So diagnostic drag, which is technicians losing 50% of the capacity to guess and check troubleshooting. That manifests itself in technicians calling Foreman, calling the business owner, calling or phoning a friend, or looking up answers on YouTube or ChatGPT or other sites that, quite frankly, may not be very secure and most likely are giving suboptimal guidance, let's say. Knowledge gaps is this concept of, we all know it's very hard to go find talented, skilled technicians in this market. It's only going to become increasingly hard. There's a lack of insights into where these gaps of knowledge are and how, as an organization, you can use technology to address those gaps in a very thoughtful and methodical manner. We've all heard this concept and probably the term that was coined of the silver tsunami, or this technician churn. It's coming. We're all aware of it. It's not going to get any better, and it's going to only further exacerbate the pain points that everyone's seeing in the market. So we hear this time and time again. And then the last point is this concept of lost opportunities and lost revenue from upselling opportunities in the field. And how can you use the data that you have from your technicians' day-to-day activities, and then more broadly, the work order data sets and information that you have to drive more revenue in an automated manner that leverages AI and the technology that's available today. So those are some of the main pain points. I would think that at least some of them exist for all of you in some shape or form. Again, just like very plainly, what we hear time and time again is technicians are in the field. There's varying degrees of expertise and knowledge. Whenever they run into problems, I get a phone call when I'm at my kids' football game. The technicians are calling support from the OEMs and they're getting a manual sent to them after several hours. Just all these things that slow down the business and quite frankly are a drag on your revenue and also your bottom line. Not to mention, just frankly, making the technicians less efficient and making them less valuable in the seats that they fill. Okay, so those are the pain points. Those are things that we've heard time and time again, and I would describe those as the main pain points and problems that we solve as a company. Uh, Moving on. What I mentioned earlier is we very successfully launched a pilot program 2 months ago with Local 98 and Brian Myers, who is the head of learning development, and I'd like to think as probably the foremost thought leader across the country when it comes to training and development through the Local 98 union organization. Um, Very quickly after only a couple calls and demonstrations, saw the impact of the platform. The quote was, "This software is essentially putting the most highly intelligent electrician in the universe in the palm of your hand." So, as a thought leader, Brian endorsed this product explicitly. We rolled it out to the apprentice class, and quite frankly, the empirical data and evidence was quite overwhelming and very clear. You can see the numbers up here on the slide. What I like to attach to as a single point is that the power users, right, who we describe as users that are in the top 25th percentile of usage. Again, and this is only through their own volition and through their own interest in using the application themselves. It's not top down and doesn't have the support of their employers like yourselves. This was strictly from a grassroots bottom-up deployment across the apprentice classes through a partnership with Local 98. So I think it should demonstrate that there is a willingness of your employees and your technicians to be using this platform even without a mandate from employers like yourselves. Now, the power users were saving up to 7 hours per week in increased productivity, which if you extrapolate using some basic assumptions of $100 per hour, translates to $35,000 in annual productivity savings per technician. And again, that's just from their own volition and own desire to use the application to be more productive and generate more revenue and work more quickly without even the mandate coming top down from employers like yourselves. So I think that's pretty overwhelming evidence and support for the increase in productivity that the CoreNav application can deliver almost immediately. We've seen it, and the data is quite clear. I think at this point, what we'd actually like to do is have Ben jump in and give a brief demonstration of what the actual platform and app looks like. I would be curious, though, before moving forward, when we think about productivity and metrics like callbacks and first-time fix rates, I'd be curious if either through chat or a show of hands or whatever the most convenient form is here, um, how many employers or people on this call have a good insight or closely tracked first-time fix rate? And then I'd be curious, does anyone actually know what the first time fixed rate is by technician? So I know I think maybe the easiest way is if anyone on this call does do that, to like maybe throw it in a chat or even just acknowledge amongst yourselves whether that is something that you currently track and whether that's something that we believe we should be tracked. So I think that's something that we can give further insights into through our demonstration and demonstrate how that can and should be tracked. But I'll just leave that out there as some food for thought for everyone on this call. And then I'll actually invite Ben to jump in here to tag in and give a actual demonstration of the product live. And we will probably elicit some feedback and representative questions from the audience. But Ben, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Jeff. Um, we've got a couple of different we've got two different interfaces, one on the web, one on your phone, so you can access it on your laptop, on your desktop, or you can, pull out your phone. It's on iPhone, it's on Android, on the App Store. It's free to download. Um, we've got it's pretty simple to use. You just ask a question, you can attach a photo, a video, and what this will do is it goes through and takes your question, analyzes it, figures out what sources to use. So it's got NAC 26, 23, 2017. It's got NFPA. It's got hundreds, if not thousands, of different manufacturers. And that's the equivalent of something like 2 terabytes worth of manuals in there. So we've got pretty much everything in there, both from equipment, parts, and tooling. All of those manuals should be in there. Um, and basically it just answers a question. So it'll take your question, it'll walk you step by step through um, any assumptions that you've made, any blind spots that you may have had when you're asking that question, and if it has enough information to answer, it'll give you the answer and walk you through how it arrived at that. And if it decides that it needs a little bit more information for a good answer to be returned, it'll actually pop up this box down here. And basically, what this is it's the equivalent of if you were to call, your senior guy and say, "Hey, I've got this situation," and he's like, "You know what? I need a little bit more information. Take a picture of this. What's the reading here? Where are you? What does it look like? What's the model number?" All those questions kind of get condensed into this yellow box down here. And what this basically does is it walks through that decision-making process, that information gathering process. So your techs are building the right skill set and they're walking through the right decision paths to arrive at a good answer. So here's an example here. What are the code requirements for the height of a horn and strobe in a non-conditioned space, non-livable? And it's pulling in the exact wall-mounted height requirements from the NEC tables, and it's giving you all of the installation rules. Here's another one. Can you switch from SE cable to a junction to switch it to 2HHN? Um, it gives you a very quick too long didn't read first, and then it kind of walks you through each of these steps. So, right, you need to look at de-energizing, locking out, tagging out. You need to verify the subpanel, any conductor sizing. And you notice that it cites the table here and kind of walks you through the execution of making this switch. And again, it's also asking for more information. The more information that you feed it, the better advice it can give you. It's not just going to, give you an answer up front. If it doesn't have enough information, it's going to say, "Hey, I need more information to give you the correct answer." So our guys use this for everything. So conduit sizing, conduit bending, code related questions, diagnostics, all of that is fair game here. And you can see how it just kind of walks you through in this example how to do this bend. And so what we've seen is actually there's and here's an example on a diagnostic, so or a kind of a how-to. So they're trying to wire these two UPSs together. And here we actually have you guys have the ability to say how much information you want. So you can have like the condensed version, which this individual turned on. You can have the standard, the standard output, and then you can also turn on the extended output to see everything. So this is what that would look like if you guys wanted to turn on the condensed output version. It's just a too long didn't read. You got 30 seconds to scan before you have to go work. This will give you exactly what you need to know. So I'm going to switch back over here, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple. You can you can record your voice if you want to. So I can say, I mean, I guess I'll try this. can you switch from SE cable to a junction to switch it to THHN that runs through PVC to feed a 100 amp sub panel? So what this does is it allows you both on app and on web to be able to talk natively, and you can see that it actually captures the right terminology. It isn't a dumb voice to text. It's pretty smart. You can also attach photos
So
and videos.
Ben,
Go ahead.
so Ben, I think the important point here, and thanks for bringing that up, is it's not simply a mobile app that's text only. The modalities or data input options are both the traditional text, an intelligent voice interface that has industry-specific knowledge, and then also has the ability to capture pictures directly from the site. And beyond, not just the pictures are also geotagged to share the exact location and to help, and then also identify the exact piece of equipment.
Right. So that's the next step here. So it's your diagnostic co-pilot. It's your NEC code reference. But what it also does is every question. So if your guys are running around taking photos of equipment, asking questions about it, it's actually gathering that information. And the next time any individual in your team asks about a question and it's within the same area, we actually pull that information out and we can say, hey, this is what happened the last time we worked on this equipment. This is all the information we have about this, about this particular customer, about this particular site, about this particular piece of equipment. And it's accurate down to about 10 to 20 feet. So all of that information kind of feeds through there. So if you're looking for a way to build organizational intelligence about your customers, about their sites, about their buildings, about the equipment that they have, this would be the way to do that in a very seamless and native way. And you guys
Right.
have used, go ahead.
Yeah, Ben, I think that's a great, and sorry to interrupt there, but a great thread about organizational intelligence. I do think there's an important point to flag here is that we're very careful about this point with Brian Myers at Local 98, is that all the information think of it as a walled garden, if you will, within your own instance, which is to mean within your own organization. All of the information stays within your own organization, right? Or your own company and the users that belong to that company. Now, the flip side there is what Ben was alluding to is all of the information, chats, questions that are answered, shared chats, feedback from a foreman or business owner, or even just another journeyman with another journeyman is built on top of that organization specific knowledge base so that it basically becomes your own living, breathing organizational knowledge base of best practices over time. So when we alluded to this silver tsunami and the departure of all the tribal knowledge that is stuck in the heads of senior technicians, this is a very powerful tool that essentially is a next generation version of your SOPs and best practices and the knowledge that's stuck within technicians' heads. It becomes a living, breathing, growing knowledge base for your company. Okay, Ben, anything that you would add to that point, or any additional features that you think are worth highlighting?
I think that's pretty spot on. I think it would be worth it to see if anyone has any questions at this point and see if we can field any of them. I know you've probably got a couple floating around, and we just love to be able to address them now.
Yeah, I think, yeah, so perfect time, Ben, to open up the floor for questions. Rob encourages us to keep this interactive. I'll actually start with one, and I'd love to hear feedback from the attendees. We all know time is money. We all know that skilled labor is scarce and it's increasingly hard to get entry level technicians up to the most productive speed. There's always churn. But again, time is money, productivity is important. The basic question is if you can save $35,000 in annual cost savings from increased efficiency, what are the arguments against spending a fairly nominal couple $100 per year to make your technicians more efficient and by extension, making your company more profitable? So I'd love to hear any candid feedback as to how do you all think about that ROI on investment and what would prevent you from making that investment? Any brave souls out there that want to kind of give some feedback and perspective?
What are you providing that Google doesn't?
I'm sorry, and is that Mike?
Yes.
And Mike, where are you calling from or what firm? Sorry.
I'm with Ace Electric in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Gotcha. Great. Ben, you wanna grab this one?
Yeah. Mike, I'm sure you guys have tried ChatGPT and Gemini and all of that stuff, and you probably don't rely on it for a good reason. You know, all the guys that we've spoken to said they have tried it in some shape or form. And what it's good at is you know, giving you an answer quickly. That's what AI is good at. What it's not good at is providing guardrails around that, right? So if you ask about certain code standards, um, I mean, you can see what kind of sources that it's pulling from. It's not pulling from the actual code references. It's not pulling the tables. It's not pulling anything of that sort. The other side of it is I guess there's two other sides of it. The second is manuals. So you're going to be hard pressed to find a lot of these manuals on here. Manufacturers are sometimes pretty reticent to put that online. So we have a proprietary data set for that. And then lastly, um, I think there's just a level of trust between the answer and the person asking. Um, Google and those kinds of AI tools love to give you an answer outright without actually, you know, processing the information and deciding whether or not it's a good idea to answer immediately. Um, our tool is structured to actually back off a bit and say, hey, we don't have enough information to give you an answer right now. If you provide these readings, then we can give you a more accurate information and a more accurate answer. So our tool, it kind of walks you through the decision process the same way you know, a senior would kind of guide a junior through that decision process. Say, hey, you know, take a picture of the conduit over there before we continue this, you know, this conversation. Give me a reading. Tell me, you know, what the data plate or the nameplate looks like. All that information is important in providing an accurate and trustworthy answer. And so the system's built around that. So I hope that helps answer that question.
Yeah. Ben, thanks for that. And Mike, thanks for the question. I think just to read the back and summarize is quite frankly, number one, accuracy. And that's what led to the endorsement by Local 98 directly was, look, if your techs are using Google right now, then they're getting wrong answers, and you should be worried about that. So that the accuracy of the content is absolutely critical, where you need to have the domain specific understanding instead of a generalized chat. You're going to get led astray. Number two is the format in which the the accurate data is actually presented. Instead of a generalized chatbot that you use for everything, this has very clearly been designed to optimize the diagnostic steps required to take that information and actually complete a task in an iterative manner that also, frankly, has a learning component that helps your technicians not just complete the task, but also learn as they do their job. And then the third point there is going to be quite frankly compliance and safety, where you're keeping the information within your own instance and you're learning and building on top of your own best practices in a safe and compliant manner that you just don't have unless you want to build your own GPTs on top of ChatGPT and maintain them yourself, which I think is a pretty tall order for most companies and service contractors. We're providing all of that for you as part of the service. But yeah, good question. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Jeff, Ben, Fran from Shoreline. How often is this updated? You know, obviously, information is constantly changing in our world. So how often is this updated through your platform?
Yeah, good question, Fran. Ben, do you wanna take it? I'll happily take it, but I feel like this is your time to shine.
Thanks, Ren. Yeah, we've got a couple of pretty close pilot partners that we work with. Um, we pull in any kind of code changes immediately, right? So 26 we had that before I think anyone else. Um, and you know those are on a multi-year cadence, so we'll keep those up to date for you. In terms of manuals and stuff, those pretty much last forever. So we just pull in manuals as people request them. We've preloaded it with as many as we think are necessary. That we've got tens of terabytes, hundreds of terabytes that we have not loaded in yet, just because there's the long tail end is pretty wide. But if you guys have any particular manufacturers that aren't in there already for whatever reason, just go ahead and give me a shout and I can load those in for you. Everything else is pretty up to date, and we keep those updated for you.
Yeah, good question. So there different manuals will be on a regular cadence, which we'll stay on top of. But in the very like micro sense, Ben's actually given his number out to the entire apprentice class, and he updates things in real time. And by that I mean within 10 minutes. Kind of the beauty of the technological world that we live in is technically we can update literally in real time. So we can and do respond immediately to requests if there ever is something that you want to add. And again, a big part of the feature, instead of using a generic chat interface, is your ability as an organization to add whatever data, whatever manuals, whatever best practices that you want, and you can do that at any time. Good. Thanks, Fran. Good question.
Looks
I
like
have a question. Can project-specific specifications or drawings be uploaded if we had to, say we were doing a large-scale project and there was a specific question on a drawing that maybe an electrician or one of the field personnel had?
Yeah, so you can upload those you can upload files, PDFs, images as part of any chat. And we can if you have the so on the individual subscription, we don't have any like project based stuff, but for the company subscriptions, we actually retain knowledge across chats, so you'd be able to do that.
So if we were doing like a project where we had a high rise we were putting in and there was a bunch of drawings and specifications for that specific project, we could upload that information and then we could probably connect that to our field employees to, if they had any questions about a specific drawing, they could go right
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, so every organization has its own kind of knowledge base that's paired in with tied in with our, with our like I kind of like call it like a 90%. That last 10% would be that organizational knowledge that you could tie in.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, who is that?
This is Jim O'Driscoll with Liberty Integrated Solutions.
Oh, hey, thank you. Thanks for your question. Is that something that you'd see a common interest in or a common use case?
I would think so if we're actually you know, working on a project and we had just say, a couple different crews of electricians working there, and it would be a way to obviously exchange information or look at a drawing, and if there was a specific NEC question related to a drawing,
Mhm.
that could be, very helpful, I would think, or even as simple as, what's the count of particular light fixtures on this floor? Like, hey, we have this many type A1s. Is that something that that could give us like a quick number on that, you know, we could check against?
Yeah, for sure. And that was pretty closely aligned with the initial thesis behind the problems that the problem that we sought out to solve. I'd be curious, what do you currently do in that situation?
We'll utilize Bluebeam. Lots of times, I'll go with a set of drawings and count them and check them off as I go. You know what I mean? Our estimators will do a drawings comparison. Like they'll look at a revised set, just say you have a revision one to a base contract, and basically try to compare, if a count change or a receptacle change or any kind of changes. I would think this could be useful in that case where we could always upload the latest set of drawings. So if there's any changes that could be tracked, this would be a good way of tracking design changes even along the progress of the job.
Yeah.
So a lot of that's done like in-house here in the office. We do a lot of, verifying and counting, but some kind of application like this could, I would think, potentially make it easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Great feedback. Would love to pick your brain a little bit more deeply on that one if you don't mind. But thanks for the question.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Looks like we have two questions in chat. Is it Dietrich and Brian? I think we've partially answered the first question over here. Just taking a minute to scan through here. Um, I guess part of there's two halves with the secret sauce, so to speak. One is kind of a proprietary data set. It's not just manuals, it's not just code. We actually pull in millions of, I think literally millions of technician to technician conversations. This is kind of how we route um, a bit of this about a bit of this knowledge through into the AI. So we're not just pulling in the source documents. We're actually pulling in. We've embedded the decision making processes from these millions of conversations. Um, and I'm sure you could get some level of productivity out of throwing them into GPT product projects. Um, but I just think we're a little bit more purpose-built and more trustworthy of an output than you'd see otherwise. And then in terms of price, we've just kept it at 20 per user across your company. So if you got 10, 15 texts, that'd be um, you know uh,
$20 per user per month is
yep.
a per seat subscription model. So that was in response to, it looks like Brian's question.
Yep.
Cool. And yeah, thanks for flagging those questions in chat, Ben. I'm glad that we caught those. Great. No problem, Brian. Glad that we could get that response. Um, Ed asked a very good question, which I think is a meaty question, but Ben, why don't you maybe keep the response somewhat limited to what we currently can do? I think all of those are feasible, and I think it's a question of market demand and our
Yeah.
product roadmap. But just you can respond to Ed's question, which was, good morning. Any thoughts on expanding this to estimating, project management, accounting best practices?
Ed, let's have a conversation. We have our email up there, and we'll share it with you guys afterwards. We actually started exploring a lot of this. This is kind of part of the organizational intelligence part of it. So behind the scenes, it's not we kind of have this huge. It's almost like an iceberg. So what you see is this kind of chat interface, but what really is going on behind the scenes is all these conversations are getting parsed and stored in this kind of persistent organizational um, intelligence layer. So what we've started doing in across different fields is allowing you to pull in all of those kinds of documents and correlating that with work that's going on the ground. So for example, something we did in an adjacent field on the maintenance side is we pulled in work orders and tied it in with their kind of vendor reports, and we were working with them to figure out areas where we could improve their preventative maintenance loop, and help speed up that cycle. So all of that information is kind of fair game, but let's have a conversation on what that might look like for you.
Great. And Ben, sorry, do you have Ed's contact and firm? Ed, maybe you could just
If you could just type it in there, we'll capture it.
yeah, we'll follow up via email. Cool. Any additional questions? These are all very, very good, thoughtful questions. Appreciate it. Thanks, Ed. We have that email. Yeah, all very good questions and very thoughtful. So we appreciate the engagement. We'll give one last opportunity for anyone and everyone to ask a final question. We promised Rob we would try to keep this as close to 30 minutes as possible. What you do have is in front of on the screen share, you do have our contact information. So anyone can reach out to either Ben or to me directly at either Jeff at CoreNav or Bennett at CoreNav. Kind of, you know where to find us. And then we have a few follow-ups here on some meatier questions that we'd love an opportunity to dig into a little bit more deeply. But we are here to help. Again, the goal here is to make all of your lives and technicians' lives a little bit more easier, more productive, so that everyone can do more with less resources optimally. So that's a shared ambition of ours, and we're open to any and all conversations and into how we can partner. So I think if there's no more questions, we can wrap it up here. And thank you everyone for your time and thoughtful questions, and look forward to continuing the dialogue. Great. Thanks everyone. Appreciate it. Great.
That's all. That's all we'll do.
Thank you.
Thanks all.